you, Carla. Could I too commend Deputy Donnelly for drafting the bill and bringing it before the House. I too know it's a sort of a long process to get it to the point where you feel confident enough to present it. I suppose it boils down essentially to the cost of doing business, the cost of trying to protect your business, and the cost of trying to stay in business. And one of the things that I think maybe we've lost sight of, or is lost sight of in this particular bill, is that most often SMEs do business with other SMEs, and in that case, your creditor that you're actually trying to tip the balance against, or what this bill probably does is tip the balance somewhat against them, and you result in a domino effect where the company that seeks the protection of the examinership actually has a knock-on effect, and it's by the powers associated with this bill, if enacted, would actually put other businesses in jeopardy, if not out of business, and seeking examinership. And instead of reducing costs, you would actually compound them. Theory, I haven't read the legislation, or read your bill, or read your summary of it, at least. I just find that seems to be a consequence of what you're trying to do. Notwithstanding what you're trying to do is very commendable. I think if the High Court could be removed from the process in as far as possible without removing the court's system itself. I think the court is an independent, arbitrary adjudicator that should be left in the process. And at times, maybe fair enough, if it only wants to take on an administrative role, then let it do so. Small businesses around the country depend on credit. And there's a story about somebody going into a shop and paying €50, and when that €50 came back to him, it had been through 15 different hands, but it was the same €50 note. But everybody had benefited from it. It's actually somewhat light-hearted, but it actually demonstrates how money, when it flows and circulates, can actually benefit everybody. And it ended up with the person who actually had passed it on in the first place. So I think we have to be cognizant of that very fact that by tilting the balance and ending up with challenges from creditors, from landlords, that there's a danger that this thing will get bogged down in the whole legal system far more greater than it is. And the Director of Corporate Enforcement already is an office that is way behind time. I mean, when a complaint or a request goes into the Director of Corporate Enforcement, expect to see a result in 2 to 3 years. So I don't know that it's fair to involve them at the level that you propose in this bill to be part of the process. So while, as I say, the government itself has the Companies Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2013, and when it's commenced, it will permit small businesses to apply for examinership in the Circuit Court, which, as a rule, will result in an average of 30% less cost than the High Court process. It covers, in the main, the same category of business that Deputy Donnelly's bill seeks to assist. Companies with a balance sheet of less than 4.4 million, companies with turnover not exceeding 8.8 million, and employees no greater than 50. I think it's the same cohort of companies that Deputy Donnelly's bill seeks to address. So I think, to be fair, this particular amendment was already proposed at an earlier stage in this legislation and rejected on the same grounds that the government feel they need to reject it at this point. So I think for that reason, we should allow this bill and contribute to it, the bill that the government has already tabled, enacted, to be the bill. I mean, in good spirit, that the positive parts and the positive emphasis that Deputy Donnelly's bill tries to promote is actually encompassed in the government's own legislation. I think that would be in the good spirit that this bill intends to try to achieve. So while I can't support the bill as presented, I do hope that when we do finally bring forward a piece of legislation, that it seeks to achieve in a more balanced way the same objectives that Deputy Donnelly's bill sets out to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Doyle. I now call on